Hello and welcome to Coffee with a Grad. Hello, who are you and what are you drinking?
I'm Sam Clay, and I'm drinking a very uninteresting flat white, but laced with lashings of painkillers because I'm a numpty who falls over while running.
Oh dear, that's not the best way to start. But coffee with painkillers, does it taste okay?
Yeah, it's like sort of naff sweetener, so lovely.
Perfect. So Sam, tell us, what is your job? What do you do?
I am a junior technical lighting designer, is the long-winded title, for a company called Ideaworks, who are a home integrator. Is our sort of wider role. But I work specifically in the lighting department, and we do creative and technical and then lighting supply on architectural lighting projects. So mostly large London residences, and increasingly a large part of our work is mega yachts, super yachts, however you want to call them.
Amazing. Okay, so you graduated from the lighting course.
From the lighting course in 2018.
Awesome. Okay. And now you're studying, well, not studying, you're looking at specifically install market. You're not doing events that are in and out. You are installing long-term lighting architectural solutions for people.
Yeah. So we most of our projects are, at the point we start them, they are houses which are getting gutted basically, and going back to bare bones. And we then come in and we design everything from the creative scheme itself. We have an entire creative team, and then that gets passed to us, and it's going via interior designers and architects to mesh with their vision, and then it gets passed to us and the technical team, who then figure out where we need power supplies and cables run to each point for electricians to run, and making sure that we've got a means of controlling everything. And we often have upwards of 20 or 30 different manufacturers' products on a project. So it's our job to grab the specification of all of those and make sure that we can control them with our control systems, which are mostly things like Crestron and increasingly Lutron these days.
So with what you do, I suppose there's a lot of work that goes into before you even step on the site to do any installation work. There's probably a lot of site visits and probably a lot of measuring and CAD diagrams and pre-prep.
Definitely, yeah. So we will receive a GA, a general arrangement, from the architect or the interior designer, whoever our client is. It can be various different people in the project team, and then we spend a lot of time in CAD laying out symbols on drawings, mostly in 2D, although we're trying to transition, as a lot of the industry is, to 3D these days, and all of the accuracy, but also complication that brings. And yeah, there's a lot of site visits and coordination with external teams, and, like you say, measuring of things. We run a lot. It's not just pendants and table lamps these days. There's a lot of linear LED these days, in joinery, in coffers in the ceiling. So all of that needs measuring, and we have an incredible supply team who deal with the often hundreds, but sometimes thousands of individual pieces of linear and downlights that we need to successfully complete a job.
Okay, so with this architectural side, I think it's fair that a lot of the students on the lighting design course perhaps haven't really considered architectural as a career route. So how did you get into this role?
So I was very similar to those students that you're mentioning there. When I came to uni, I was only really aware or interested in entertainment lighting, and that's the kind of the glitzy side of lighting that is really easy to sell, I think. But I became aware of it when two of my colleagues from Ideaworks came to USW and were talking to us about Ideaworks and the opportunities they had for placement years. And I thought, yeah, I really like the sound of this. It was a really good mix of technical stuff, and electronics and all that sort of stuff that I loved, and design stuff, and making sure that at the end of it all, you've got a really stunning room or facade or garden or yacht for your client to get handed over to them. So yeah, I think if you're a bit in between, you're not entirely sort of you don't see yourself entirely as a designer's designer and not entirely technical. I think it's a really great mix of things.
Okay, so you did a year in industry with Ideaworks as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you recommend that as the year out?
Totally, yeah. I can't imagine what I would be doing now if I hadn't done that placement year. I think it's fair to say before James and Josh came in and did that talk when I was in my second year, I was a little bit lost. And it was halfway through second year, third year was looming. And at that point you're thinking, God, what am I going to do? And I got very lucky in that my placement year, I loved it and I loved what I did, and I'm still there now. But equally, there were guys on my year of the course who did placement years who didn't love their placement so much, and that's equally as valuable. It's a bit of a cliche, but teaching you what you shouldn't do is also equally as valuable. Yeah, so totally, if you have the opportunity, I think definitely go for it.
So as well as the placement year, you've obviously got the education from the university route into the industry, which not everybody takes. But do you feel that the university route helped you in some way to land the job or to get where you are?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, outside of just, the sort of slightly coincidental fact that I heard about Ideaworks while at uni, a lot of the stuff that I use day to day at work now, a lot of the optics stuff, a lot of the electronics, and certainly a lot of the CAD skills are all things that I learned at uni, and particularly things like CAD, which are a little bit prohibitive just in terms of their costs. Like to get hold of that software and learn it, if I hadn't been at uni, I'm not sure how I would have had the chance to learn that sort of thing. So yeah, immensely valuable those first 2 years in the build up to my placement year and my third year as well.
So we've got students who are doing the course at present, obviously. Would you have some advice for them if you could put yourself back in their shoes and look back at your time as a student? Is there some advice or a top tip or something that you wish you knew at the time?
I think my advice would be to not just completely write off the modules that you are least interested in at the moment. So like I just said, the stuff that really helps me in my job now is the optics and all of the principles of electronics and electricity, which I loathed at uni because I was terrible at maths. And obviously that's a big part of that stuff. And I was much more interested in shining lights at things and getting my hands on with stuff. But going back now, I've regularly turned to my uni notes over the years to reference things where I think, yeah, I definitely remember learning that in a lecture. Let's go and look at that. So yeah, keep your notes after uni and try as hard as it is at the time to relish all of it, even the stuff that's not as on the surface interesting to you.
That's really good advice. I like that. So in your job, how long have you been at Ideaworks now?
God, I've been there 2.5 years now.
Okay, 2.5 years. So within that time, is there a job that really stands out as I don't know, the biggest or the best or the most memorable in some way?
We're doing a yacht called REV, which stands for Research Expedition Vessel, and it is half pleasure luxury yacht and half scientific research vessel. So if you look at the photos of this thing, it's it looks like a yacht on the front half, and in the back half there's a crane and a helipad. It's 182 meters long, 9 decks, 4,000 square meters. It's a monster, and we're doing as Ideaworks as a whole, we're doing AV, IT, lighting, shading, and lighting supply for all of the luxury yacht areas. And I've got some key stats. We've got 400 Wi-Fi access points, 200 phones, and then the ones we care about, 8 kilometers of linear LED and 1,500 downlights. So quite a beast.
Blimey. Okay. And
It's a
just
lot
a
of stuff.
thought, something I've just thought of that I haven't really considered before. Do you have to think in a different mindset because you're installing on a ship environment? Are there, I'm sure that installing a downlight in a ship surely is different to installing it in a house somewhere.
Everything's a lot more tight and compact on a ship. Everything is planned to within an inch of its life. So whereas in a house, you're kind of, if you need to pull a cable across the ceiling, you hand that to the electrician and they'll pull it, and you will have a record of the cable starts here and ends here. But sort of where it goes in between is a little more vague. On a ship, it's nothing like that. There are discrete cable trays everywhere, and if you run a cable, you know exactly how long it is, you know how many corners it takes, and all of that. So really the first thing we do when we're planning a ship like that is we're going around and shotgunning space for all of our power supplies and all of our control gear before someone else puts an AC unit or a water tank or something else there. And they still try. So that's an ongoing battle. But yeah, it's a very different process, especially just with the scale of the thing. We basically worked in reverse for that one, and rather than laying it out all on a CAD drawing and then trying to bring all that back in and figure out how many DALI control modules and power supplies and things we needed, we planned all of our control first, and then as we've gone along, we've made little tweaks when we've needed to. But between us, we're a team. The technical team, we're a fairly large team now. We had the experience there to make a pretty good guess of what we'd need, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Amazing. Well, we appreciate your time, Sam, and joining us here on Coffee with a Grad, because what you do is sort of not necessarily the majority of what our students would go on to do, but it's certainly an area of lighting that people should consider because it's such a big industry, and it's almost unspoken about, really. We teach architectural lighting, we teach control systems, but as you say, there's a lot of work that you can't tell us about, which is quite an exciting thought, I think. It means there's probably quite a lot of design and money that goes into these things and precision. So it's certainly something our students should consider.
Totally, yeah. I'd really encourage it, and hopefully I'll see some of them in the not too distant future, face to face, and we can get hands on with the fun stuff, and it get less theoretical.